Prince of Wales and Camilla Parker Bowles seen together in public quite clearly, coming down the steps of the Ritz after the party for the 50th birthday party for Camilla's sister. No secret about their relationship now, none possible at all. The photograph.
With the pristine morning sky, the banners of Buckingham Palace flew gloriously against the backdrop, and the media all over the world buzzed with excitement and expectation. It was supposed to be a day of celebration, a royal gathering to honor tradition and harmony, and it really was going to be that. There was a gathering of dignitaries, world leaders, and royals from all across the Commonwealth that had taken place beneath a single gilded roof. One thing that none of them were aware of, however, was that the day would end in a state of confusion, shock, and despair. The calm and well-liked successor to the throne, Prince William, was the one who stood at the epicenter of the storm. William had always performed the role that was required of him, and he was known for his calm demeanor and diplomatic grace. Until now, they had not changed. Underneath his placid grin, he concealed a secret, a choice that would have repercussions throughout the course of history. And Queen Camilla, who was sat just a few steps away, was completely oblivious to the fact that the very institution that she had battled so hard to establish was about to be shaken to its very foundations. Smiling, nodding, and proud, but beneath that polished veneer, palace insiders whispered that things were not going well between the generations of royals. A closer look was taken by the cameras. Suddenly, the masses fell silent. A magnificent display of power and togetherness was put on by the royal family as they gathered together. As he approached the podium, the future king took a step forward, and in the blink of an eye, the princess fairy tale would shatter, right in front of the eyes of the entire globe, which were in complete disbelief. The information that Prince William disclosed on that particular day would cause the monarchy to be in a state of disarray, cause Queen Camilla to disintegrate in front of the public, and set off a whirlwind of conjecture regarding the future of the House of Windsor. The course of history was about to be altered. Moreover, the first domino was on the verge of falling. There had never been a time when the gardens of Buckingham Palace appeared more magnificent. The courtyard was surrounded by rows of white roses. Golden thrones were neatly positioned on the stage, and a sea of royal blue banners announced the event that was taking place. Outwardly, it appeared to be a scenario that had been taken directly from a storybook. Even while it appeared to be flawless on the surface, an unseen storm was developing beneath it. The festivities were presided over by King Charles III, who was accompanied by Queen Camilla, who looked absolutely lovely in a dazzling white coat dress and a diamond brooch. The children of Prince William and Princess Catherine watched with wide-eyed astonishment as they stood nearby in a respectful manner. Every senior member of the royal family was there, including Prince Edward, Princess Anne, and even distant cousins from all throughout the Commonwealth as well. Unity and renewal was the theme of the event, which served as a reminder that the monarchy is capable of withstanding any storm that may come its way. Outsiders, however, were aware that the family had been going through a difficult time behind the well-prepared grins. Deep fissures had been established within the walls of Buckingham Palace as a result of tensions around modernization, succession, and the future role of younger royals. And the strain of public expectations weighed heavily, especially on William, who was said to have been frustrated with the slow pace of royal reform. This was especially true for William. Watchers of the royal family recognized the indications. It appeared as though King Charles was preoccupied as he shifted in his seat. Queen Camilla might be seen holding her program with a little too much force. There were other occasions when Princess Catherine hushed her husband in a pressing manner. There were rumors going around that William had asked to speak during the ceremony, which was an unusual gesture that caused the more orthodox courtiers to raise their eyebrows. It was alleged that one of the assistants said, "He just wants to say a few words." But those who were closest to the throne were concerned that something else was on the way. A daring thing to do, something that cannot be undone. Immediately, as William stood up from his seat, the crowd of guests immediately stopped what they were doing and turned their attention to him. The cameras are turned on. It was a tight smile from the Queen. There was a faint nod from the King. An approach was made by Prince William to the podium. At this point, the time had come. The monarchy was about to be confronted with a reality that it was not prepared to acknowledge. With the splendor of Buckingham Palace serving as a backdrop, Prince William looked like a figure of calm determination as he stood erect at the podium. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady, powerful, and full of purpose. The breeze touched his royal sash softly, but his voice was firm, powerful, and full of purpose. William began by saying, "Today we gather to honor tradition," while his gaze swept over the gathering. However, it is also a moment to look boldly to the future, an upcoming time that calls for more than just a ceremony. It calls for action. A wave of mystification spread around the gathering like a ripple. The language used here was not that of a straightforward homage. Not a single one had anticipated this to happen. William continued by saying, "For far too long, the crown has been a symbol of stability. However, stability without evolution is the same thing as stagnation. When I speak to my generation and those that come after me, I hear a yearning for something more, a monarchy that serves, listens, and leads by example." Queen Camilla remained motionless, her grin transforming into a stiff, unreadable line. King Charles shifted uncomfortably, exchanging a short glance with his advisors. The guests began to murmur in response to the situation. After that, the bombshell was dropped. "In consultation with His Majesty the King," William declared, "I intend to lead efforts to streamline the monarchy, reducing its size, modernizing its traditions, and ensuring it reflects the society it serves, not one it seeks to reign over. This includes a future where the role of Queen Consort and other ceremonial titles are re-evaluated to ensure they align with the people's expectations." A thunderclap was heard by the crowd as the words were said. The expressions on Camilla's face became clearly pale, and Princess Catherine's hands were gripping her dress hard. Gasps could be heard around the courtyard, and reporters were frantically trying to catch every moment and every reaction. William persisted in his assertion, saying, "The monarchy must be a force for good, not an island above the people, but a bridge among them. And I vow to dedicate my life to that mission." When he finished, there was a startled hush. There was no polite applause, and there was no formal hoopla. There was only the weight of history collapse about them all. It was at that precise moment that Prince William made a declaration of a revolution from inside, boldly questioning centuries of royal convention and implying that even the function of the Queen Consort was not beyond doubt. The unwavering conviction with which it was given was a seismic change, yet it was delivered without fury. The House of Windsor would never again be viewed in the same manner by the rest of the world. At the same time that the shock subsided, Queen Camilla's body began to tremble in her seat. At that moment, the aftershock was set to occur. The scene that transpired after that will be a permanent part of the annals of royal history. As Prince William's last words reverberated throughout the courtyard of the palace, all eyes darted towards the royal platform. It was there, in front of hundreds of witnesses and innumerable cameras, that Queen Camilla began to visibly falter. At first, it was subtle. She clutched the edge of her chair with trembling hands. Her complexion, already pale, drained to a ghostly white. A gasp from a nearby aide drew the attention of the crowd. Within seconds, Camilla's eyes fluttered, her chest heaved, and then in a slow, heartbreaking moment, she collapsed into the arms of a stunned lady-in-waiting. A collective gasp was heard from the throng, and the cameramen halted, uncertain about whether or not to continue filming. Guests frantically climbed to their feet, and a murmur of worry spread throughout the courtyard. Immediately, King Charles raced to her side, his face etched with terror. Princess Anne signaled quickly for medical aid. Princess Catherine instinctively sheltered her children, pressing them close to her. Paramedics who had been secretly stationed nearby hurried forward, pushing through the astonished guests with grim urgency. Within minutes, Queen Camilla was being delicately put onto a stretcher, her breathing shallow but present, her eyes half closed. There was a wildfire of whispers that quickly spread over the courtyard. Could it have been a heart attack? Was it a surprise? Was she aware that this was about to happen? Every single second of the event, which had started off as a celebration of unity, had degenerated into pandemonium, and the cameras had filmed every single frame of it. Within minutes, images of Queen Camilla collapsing appeared on screens all over the world. Twitter, Instagram, and news websites were flooded with footage of the event. The hashtags #CamillaCollapse, #RoyalShock, and #WindsorEarthquake began trending before the Queen was even removed from view. Because of what had been witnessed, the royal family could not rectify what had occurred. When it came to Queen Camilla, there was no way to conceal the truth. A surprise had been thrown at her. In addition, the monarchy, which had been a bastion of tradition in the past, was now standing on ground that was shaking. As Queen Camilla was being rushed behind closed doors, Buckingham Palace descended into a state of controlled chaos. Aides yelled orders into earpieces, security teams hurriedly cleared the courtyard, and doctors huddled around Camilla in one of the private royal suites. Within the walls of the palace, panic began to set in, not only for her health, but also for what her collapse represented. Others whispered in hushed tones that this moment had been coming for weeks. Rumors of Camilla feeling increasingly sidelined by the younger royals had circulated for months, but no one expected it to explode so publicly. Reports from palace insiders paint a picture of sheer disarray. Some senior staff members wept openly. Others whispered in hushed tones that this moment had been coming for weeks. Initial assessments revealed that the individual was experiencing a combination of great emotional shock and stress. A top royal doctor described it as a severe syncope episode, which was produced by an overpowering surge of adrenaline and a quick dip in blood pressure. This was most likely prompted by the tremendous weight of William's declaration. However, behind the official statements, darker speculation was brewing. According to sources close to the Queen Consort, she had been feeling increasingly isolated, fearing that her role, which had been so arduously fought for after years of public scrutiny, was being systematically dismantled by the younger generation. They also claimed that William's speech, which hinted at a redefinition of royal roles, felt like a personal betrayal. Even King Charles, who is known for keeping a stiff upper lip, was described as being clearly frightened, pacing the corridors, and making frantic calls to private advisors. The royal household hurried to build a narrative that would save face, and they came up with a few possible explanations: a minor health issue, dehydration, and the heat. However, those who were on the inside understood the reality. The breakdown of Queen Camilla was not solely due to the effects of physical strain. It was the terrible realization that the old guard was being thrown out, and that she, who had previously been at the very center of royal power, was now being pushed to the outskirts of the royal power structure. To add insult to injury, the entire globe had seen it. The outside world exploded into a whirlwind of speculation and sensationalism that was unlike anything seen since the days of Princess Diana. This occurred as Queen Camilla was being led away behind velvet curtains. In order to break into their normal programming, news stations began airing breaking headlines. After Prince William's shocking announcement, Queen Camilla loses her composure and collapses. Are we on the verge of seeing the collapse of the monarchy? As Prince William makes a bold move, it shakes the throne, bringing about a new king in spirit. Social media went into absolute meltdown. On Twitter, hashtags like #CamillaCollapse, #RoyalRevolution, and #WilliamTakesCharge trended simultaneously across continents. TikTok was flooded with reaction videos, some sympathetic, many critical. Memes exploded across Instagram, portraying Camilla as the crumbling face of the old monarchy and William as the fearless face of the future. On every major news network, pundits and royal specialists were called in to discuss the situation. Theories began to circulate like wildfire. This have been the beginning of William's reign of shadow? In order to ensure the monarchy's continued existence in the long run, had King Charles secretly given his approval to the announcement? Or was the royal family ultimately severed in a way that could not be repaired? International leaders weighed in with carefully worded declarations expressing support for the stability of Britain's constitutional monarchy. These statements were a barely veiled acknowledgement that the world had witnessed a seismic internal breach. In contrast, younger generations primarily praised William's daring, viewing him as a modern reformer who was not afraid to disrupt the monarchy's outmoded underpinnings. Traditionalists, on the other hand, expressed their sorrow over what appeared to be the disintegration of royal decorum and loyalty. Even though the royal family made an effort to project a sense of oneness, the harm had already been done. Around the world, people asked the same question in a variety of settings, including living rooms, cafes, and parliaments. Have the final chapters of the British monarchy just begun to be written? At the top of Buckingham Palace, the crown continued to shine brightly. However, at this moment, it was shaking because it was trapped between the profound weight of history and the unstoppable power of change. As the dust settled from the mayhem that had occurred at Buckingham Palace, royal specialists from all over the world tried to explain the unexpected events. Although their interpretations varied, one thing was abundantly clear. Prince William's declaration had irrevocably altered the monarchy. Dr. Jonathan Elston, a well-known royal historian, made a direct statement during a panel discussion on the BBC. He said, "We have just witnessed the most significant rupture within the royal family since the abdication crisis of 1936. Elston believes that William's bold move is a signal of an urgent modernization of the monarchy that cannot be delayed any longer." In the meantime, Belinda Nash, a senior royal writer, said that William's statements were more than just reform. They were a recovery of the monarchy's soul. "He is telling the world that the crown must serve the people, not itself," Nash said. "It is no longer about continuing traditions for the sake of continuing traditions." And while the collapse of Queen Camilla was largely framed as a health incident, sources suggest that her sense of betrayal runs deep. However, not all analysts viewed it in such a positive light. Some insiders warned that William's move could spark a deeper internal war within the royal household. King Charles's reaction, which is occurring behind closed doors, remains a closely guarded mystery. In addition, there is an increasing amount of speculation over the reactions of other senior royals, such as Princess Anne and Prince Edward, behind the scenes. Will they agree with William's vision, or will they oppose it in order to maintain the institution in the same manner that they have always known it? A scary comment from an unidentified palace source encapsulates the discomfort that has been described. There have been wars, divorces, and scandals that have been endured by the House of Windsor, but there has never been a revolution from within the organization. Currently, the monarchy is at a pivotal juncture. It is possible that the subsequent actions will determine whether it will rise again or whether it will fall under the weight of its own legacy. A fault line that had been silently building beneath the surface of the British monarchy for decades was burst open as a result of the events that took place at Buckingham Palace. These events did more than just generate headlines. The historic revelation made by Prince William was more than simply a speech. It was a rallying cry for a new generation. It was a proclamation that the monarchy must change, or else it will fall behind. It was a demand that tradition be bent before the requirements of the people that it purports to serve. The collapse of Queen Camilla, both literally and symbolically, marked the painful end of an era. It was a moment when the old guard, with all of its struggles and compromises, could no longer contain the shifting tides of change. The image of her being carried away from the palace grounds will remain etched in the collective memory, serving as a symbol of a monarchy that had reached its breaking point. This was more than just a royal drama for the citizens of the United Kingdom and for the millions of people following it across the world. A look into the future was provided by it. Prince William, who was formerly considered to be nothing more than an obedient successor, has recently demonstrated that he is a leader who is prepared to set a bold new course, one that places a higher value on authenticity, service, and relevance than it does on formality and entitlement. Charles, King of England, continues to hold the throne. Following the events of that tragic day, however, it is Prince William's vision that is now determining the course of events for the monarchy. The old world has lost its integrity. Additionally, a new royal era is beginning to emerge as a result of the fracture.